Well, hello everybody, good evening and welcome to this live stream from a cardboard Coventry Cathedral in a school playground, Joseph Cash Primary in Coventry, this year's City of Culture and a focal point for creativity across the country as of May. But tonight we're going to be focusing very much not just on Coventry, not just on the UK, but the world, because today is World Creativity Day, part of World Creativity and Innovation Week, and Steamco is absolutely delighted to be the UK country champion for that. And here I am, Nick Causton, if I give you a little wave. Hopefully this is going to be like a Zoom call or a video conference call like you've never seen before. As I say, we're absolutely delighted to be celebrating the power of creativity here, as I say, on a cardboard cathedral, and we'll talk about the significance of that as the evening goes on, I'm very, very sure. I'm on this stage here with a few guests waiting in the wings, but very, very quickly, I'd just like to say that today has been made possible by a whole army of people who have stood by us over the last few years to help us be there for you, for our children, for our communities and all our futures. And I'd just very, very, very quickly like to pay tribute to a man who's in a parent-teachers meeting this evening, Gary Spracklin.
A fantastic day launching our Inspired to Learn 21 UK tour to help everybody have a school as amazing as Prince of Wales School. Big round of applause for everybody at Prince of Wales School. My goodness, what an amazing school. Mr. Spracklin let me borrow the name Inspired to Learn, and I'm going to take it to every school in this country that will have me. Lockdown's been hard. A year ago I lost all my work, no work at all, and I got myself a green screen. And now I've got two, and I can't find my little ones. Let me see my green screen. Behind me. Where is it? It's not behind me. I can't see it anywhere. I can't see my green screen anywhere.
So tonight is very much a big thank you to Gary Spracklin there at Prince of Wales School, and to brave school leaders like him, people who believe in the power of art and creativity. They understand the power of art and creativity to inspire our young people in their learning, and that is what gave us the idea very much for this Inspired to Learn tour. As Jeff Barton said earlier, we've had enough of this catch-up agenda. We've had enough of telling our children they've lost a net worth of income over the next 50 years of £40,000. We need to be giving them confidence. We need to be advocating for this golden generation. And that's very much what this is all about, the Inspired to Learn tour that was inspired by Gary Spracklin down there at Prince of Wales. And I was down there on Monday, and in fact I was there yesterday because my tyre blew out on the motorway back home, but let's not worry too much about that. But one person that Gary Spracklin did talk about very much, and who is, I think he must be a second fan of this guy, because I'm actually his number one fan, and that is this legend who's just about to pop up on the screen now. Actually, do you know what? I'm just going to cut him across, because there he is. There's the world famous Russell Prue. And the million-dollar question at a moment like this is, can you hear me, Russell?
Yes, of course we can.
And you know, you're a little rascal, aren't you? Because you deliberately pause, he waves. I'm surprised he didn't actually mime and just get me panicking, because we've had a couple of hiccups with the audio. Russell, so great to see you here. Now, I'd like to do a little bit of magic here, actually. I'm going to do this live as we go, because I just want to show people. Russell, what technology did you call in tonight on, Russell? What platform?
This is just a standard Skype call, nothing special. The only thing I've done is pop a green screen instead of a bookcase when I'm not on Sky News, and I have my Sky News bookcase behind me in the background. We just provide you with a green one so that you can overlay us in your own way.
So
I hope that's working for you.
I can take it out like that. Not very good, but when we do that, suddenly it's not bad, is it? And obviously Russ needs to grow a little bit. Stuff a bit of green cotton wool in that gap between his headphones and his head.
Oh, I know. If I could just get up a little bit and it would be fine. But no, apparently. Well, it was all right before. I don't want my light. Oh, I know. I'm being backlit. Now, this is something I do to stop the reflection from the bald bit at the front. Let me just turn the backlighting off.
No, that's good. This is how we roll, isn't it? Oh, it's gone altogether.
There we are. No, that's fine. Oh, no.
It doesn't matter. We don't worry about this.
Not a great one. I put the best shirt on for you, Nick, anyway. So much better. There we are. Just don't worry about the green cotton wool between there.
And,
We'll be
and
back.
we're not afraid to sort of demonstrate how we do things. We wrap that up as basically fearing failure. So here I am on my set. Russell's obviously gone now, so I can press a button here and there he is superimposed, but that's not really where we want Russell. So
No.
what we're going to do is here, we're not going to tell you where we really want Russell, because that would be far too contentious, I'm sure. So we're going to grab over here, we're going to pick up Russell in my little editing bits and pieces over here, and he is on Skype number, where is it? Skype number 1, and there's Russell, Skype number 1, and we turn that on. And no, it's not Skype. Well, it's somebody else. We don't know yet. Goodness me. He's Skype number 2.
Oh, that's my weekend look. You're catching me.
I know,
My
we caught you on
weekend
the hop
look. You
there,
didn't
didn't we?
tell me that.
We caught you on the hop. So basically, we can configure all these things, and there's Russell.
Hey.
And we
Hello.
can jiggle Russell around. So Russell's there. Where would you like to go? Should we squeeze you on the desk there, Russ? How about that? You fancy a
At
bit of
work
that?
before, yeah. Give us a lot of room, a bit of room there. It'll
I've
be
got a-
like
I've got a
Susanna Reid and
feeling.
not Piers Morgan now.
I've got a feeling I had my big table out last time. I've got a feeling I've put an even bigger table in for you. So Russell Prue, you in a nutshell, a sentence. Tell everybody who's not familiar with you and your work. What's your elevator pitch, Russ?
Oh gosh, elevator pitch. Well, I assume it's going really slowly. Thank you so much. So at the moment, can't get in and about to school. So the making of school radio systems has had to kind of go on a bit of a pause at the moment. You can still buy from me at the moment, but
What does that mean? What
folks
do you
have
mean
got a
radio?
lot more on their plate. So we started an online radio channel at the beginning of lockdown last year, and we haven't looked back. So we're broadcasting 5 shows a week. Some aimed at young people, some aimed at educators, some aimed at both. We've just finished a book show today. Every week, Wednesday, between 5 and 6, we do a live book show. This week, we had Stephen Lenton on. He's a brilliant illustrator. And he comes on, he talks about his work. He reads from his latest book. We ask him questions, and we ask our listeners to ask him questions, and that's part of that magic, that kind of creativity there, where our listeners can just say anything they want. They're protected, it's safe, it's all moderated in our environment, and so they get a real Q&A with them without having to appear in a Skype call, a Zoom call, a Teams call, where there's basically the opportunity for unmoderated conversations to pop up. And when we chat with Maria, she'll tell you about joining an author's book release from a very big publisher, and it was just mayhem because they'd let kids loose in there, and there was no moderation at all. So we moderate, and that is absolutely essential for safeguarding. So we do things like that. We have a fun show, a Friday music show. We have a Saturday crafting show. Maria will tell you a bit more about that. Who would have thought that crafting? We have a yoga show, yoga on the radio. How slow is the elevator?
I was going to say,
elevator
top of the
going,
Empire
or
State
lift,
here,
as
Russ,
we
aren't you?
say here in the UK.
Off to the top of the Empire State Building on that one, and through the roof. Fantastic.
Thank you. Or the Shard. I'll take the
The
Shard.
Shard, we take the Shard. The Shard's a bit more your look, is it? A bit more.
Oh yes.
So
oh, yes.
last summer we did a live stream weekend Art Camp 20, and one of the things that really stood out for me from that weekend was the support of one particular person, and that was somebody on Twitter called Mrs. Creativity, who I'll be honest I hadn't really come across, and I kind of wondered why with a tweet tag like that. And she was wonderful. She sent videos through and photos to be part of our art trail. And that was this lovely lady here, Maria. Now I'm going to click a button here and I can sort of drop you in front of me. Well, that's not a very good look, is it? So let's put you back up. Maria, tell everybody about you while I place you meticulously alongside your co-collaborator.
Thank you so much. This is such a pleasure, to be with great company on this, World Creativity and Innovation Day. It's just like my second birthday. My second birthday today. Well, I'm an educator. I've been in primary education for 22 years. And I was listening to the show last year with Russell and some colleagues as well. And my class were listening. And it came to the end of the term time. And I just let Russell know. And I said, if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. And he said yes. So I started off, on one show, and then we started a Thursday Seeds of Creativity CPD show, and we took it from there. I mean, one thing that was really important to me was the children. You know, the shows were great, but I missed the children. I missed, getting them involved. So I approached Russell and I said, could we have a crafty cafe show on a Saturday morning? And it started off as 45 minutes. It's increased to an hour. And we have live make-alongs. We've had the fabulous Jim Parkin from Aardman Studios. He was doing a make-along. We've just as well verbally booked Stephen Lenton to come in and do something fabulous with us today. And it's just going from strength to strength. We've got, creative activities, a bit of teaching and learning. We get some blooms as well in there, really stretch the children's imagination. And it's really well received. And what we like to do is to give the children some inspiration, but then to give them a chance to recreate it. So last week we were doing about Earth Day, which is tomorrow. And, some of our children, didn't have the resources that we had. Oh, this is nice to be sat next to you for a change.
It's sat on his lap, isn't it? This is major safeguarding violations here.
Yes, no, it's great. So so some children don't have the resources, and that's okay. So we encourage them, to do something, find what they've got in their home. So we're reusing, reducing, recycling, getting the message out there. And it's just a wonderful opportunity, isn't it, Russell?
Absolutely, it really is good, and we're always dazzled. So we come from the view that the minute you show a learner a picture of what you're trying to do, you have limited their imagination because you've imprinted your concept of that. And radio, because it's blind, they can only hear us, can't see us, and therefore we don't use any visual prompts insofar as that element is concerned. They just kind of always dazzle us. And we asked for something the other day and someone came back and did something entirely we were not expecting, and that's creativity. That's the moment where your pupils, your learners exceed or work above their natural aptitude, and that's where that innovation and that's where that magic comes from. And that's what we're all about, Nick, is trying to provide the opportunity, and the kids are not getting that opportunity in the classroom on a regular basis, and certainly not with Gavlar, as we like to call him, pushing the poor things forward so quickly and telling them they've got to catch up, they've got to do this, they've got to do that. There's no space for this creativity, and it's the creativity which is the stuff of growth. Remember the chap who said that? Well, his legacy is living on, I have to say. Reimagining.
Who did say that? Is that a Ken Robinson line, is it?
Absolutely.
I can't pretend to have
creativity
memorised
is the stuff of growth.
I could do the Rivers of England backward by length just to keep Mr. Gibb happy, but I can't do every Ken Robinson quote, I'm afraid. So
No.
So Russell, I mean, I'm trying to think back to when we, not when we met necessarily, but some of the key encounters. And one of my lasting memories from meeting you was from the Cardiff Education Show, which Nicola Morgan runs down there, and you were belting it out with your radio. Well, in fact, no, it was actually the Festival of Education first time, but the Cardiff thing, and let's stay with the Cardiff and the Welsh vibe. I know you've done a lot of work with the Welsh Government, with Arts Council Wales. Could you sort of sum up that, or give us an overview of that project and the objectives to that? Because I thought that was really exciting at the time. It's one of the reasons that I think we've kept in touch, because waiting for moments like this to collaborate. So tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, it's all happening in Wales, really. And if you wanted to choose somewhere to educate your child, I'd say go and do it in Wales. It's an amazing place. And they have a very exciting kind of view about creativity. And the Arts Council of Wales provided funding and support for a whole range of activities to put a creative practitioner into every primary school in over 5 years. So, and that might be an artist, that might be a poet, it might be a coder. In my case, it's a radio broadcaster. So, I had to undergo some training and become certified, although some would say Russell was certified many, many years ago. But I had to meet some minimum standards, and that's fine. And it's a real interesting option. So, you can look down a list of things you can do, and on there is radio broadcasting. So you'd have me in for whatever the funding would permit you to have, and I would go with a radio studio and we'd make a live radio show with a class of 20, 30, 40, 50, it depends. And I must have done 13, 14 commissions for that, and they last between 9, 10, 12, 15 weeks, and we make live radio, and then parents listen to it, people comment on it, and it's about developing resilience and coping strategies and just being creative without telling the kids to go and be creative, because you can't do that. You scaffold the opportunity for the young people to go away and do that, and you provide them with some space in which to work. And radio does that beautifully, because no one can see them, haven't got all the safeguarding, all the protection issues. Some children that have court orders where they can't be seen or identified, all of those problems just disappear, because it's just about the voice. And lots of people are saying, let's get back to some real words now. Let's move away from the Instagram, TikTok, let's look at me, how big is my bum in this video. Let's get away from that and get back to real words, real meaning. And creativity lives so beautifully in that space, Nick. It is just amazing. So we're really successful, and you can listen to all of the shows. They're all available on my website. You can go there and find all the stuff. It's amazing, and all of them were really successful. The Arts Council did a case study and loved it, absolutely loved it. It's been a bit less this year because can't physically go. That's very hard to do remotely, because it needs your presence on site to really make that work tremendously well. But a lovely creative space. I haven't seen anything like that anywhere else in the world, and Welsh colleagues are really rock and rolling on that. It's just been amazing, and to see young people grow, because these are longitudinal programs. They're not kind of an instant one. They're over a term, 2 terms, significant amount of investment to go back there and develop the opportunities with the children. But building that capacity to be creative. It's not always there. Sometimes it's there. Sometimes you need to develop and build that capacity for those young people, which is amazing. Like, this beautiful set that you have there. I noticed you got a retweet from the cathedral board this afternoon. I thought that put a lovely, yes.
I've lost track of all my alerts. I've not looked at any alerts today.
Coventry Cathedral gave you a retweet and loved what you'd done. Oh, yes.
Oh, you should do my socials as well. Do you fancy a job?
Oh,
please.
please.
My socials.
Oh, Nick, you couldn't afford us. You could not afford us, honestly. We're not cheap.
I know that's for sure. That's the lovely thing, isn't it? The Coventry Cathedral. What an iconic site story for a project like this. A cathedral that was burnt to the ground at a time of crisis, and literally rose from the ashes. The day after it was bombed, the provost, the vicar, said, "Let's rebuild it," but not as a sign of defiance against our enemy, but as a symbol of hope, of positivity, of optimism, of growth, of aspiration. Not just for children, but for all our futures, as Sir Ken Robinson would say, and for absolutely everybody. And I think it's wonderful. And what you've just described there, that's happening in Wales with their curriculum, the work you've described, the early project, was Arts Council Wales funded and not specifically part of the new curriculum, wasn't it?
No, but it was to pave the way to the new curriculum. I mean, Kirsty, and I know you've invited her, but because of Purda, that can't, that's a standard kind of UK politics issue there. So there's no way you could have possibly got access to anyone of that significance. But it was to pave the way for their new curriculum, where there is statutory elements of creativity. I mean, what a perfect, and where is the creativity in curriculum for schools in England? It's just not there, is it? Here's a pile of stuff, and I'm going to test your memory on that stuff in 3, 4, 5, 6 years' time. And your life chances will be based on how much of that stuff you can remember. And that is not how to be successful in this century. And everyone who truly knows that will be doing something creatively in their classrooms.
It's interesting you say that, because we had Jeff Barton on earlier. I don't know if you saw that, and he was talking very much about the UK Education Arts Fest, #EduArtsFest, which was a one-day event on the 28th of May, where all schools can really put their tools down and do art. And I know I'm going to sound very facetious now, I don't mean it to, but I almost know how the Black History Month people feel when they've got this really important agenda of decolonising history and the curriculum and the whole thing, and they get a month to do it. And art gets a day. But I think if we can get every school in this country to do something creative and stop and think about the value of art, that's great work. It's a great start. And I reached out to ASCL, to the NEU, to NASUWT, and who the other lot, NAHT is it, and really beg literally beg those people, those leaders, those hashtag Brave School leaders, to embrace collaboration, to embrace communities. I don't necessarily say come and work with me and collaborate with me, but I've got 30 years in the creative industries. I worked in the biggest advertising agencies. I started 2 digital media agencies. I've worked in brand, and you know, we've got to get the community connected with our schools and bring this conversation that is so important away from education and connect with everybody else. And you've got these, I don't know if you've seen the Federation of Education Development, the Fed as they're called. They've done a big event, a big week of stuff, but it was all educators, it was all academics. I even got thrown out the first day for restreaming it, which I didn't think would be a problem. So I thought it was an open source event. They were trying to promote what they were doing, but it's an interesting mentality. But you know, really would love to collaborate with those people. What are your thoughts, both of you? Maria, what are your thoughts about the one day hashtag UK EdU Fest, I think it is. No, EdU Fest Arts, or whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. What do you think about that, Maria? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I am obviously, I'm very excited. I mean, anything creativity wise, you know, is, like I say on the show, is my cup of tea and a couple of biscuits. But, you know, it is the legacy after that. You know, a day is a starter, I just think. But, you know, the main course and the pudding, and then, but you need to eat every single day. You need to be doing something every single day, every opportunity to do something creative. Our young people need that, and we need to be able to model that to them. But it's, the day I think is great, but it is a start. I'd like to see, you know, further. I mean, I was a couple of years ago, I was in post, I was Key Stage 2 leader, you know, very successful, and I was asked to be a creative consultant for a project with the Paul Hamlyn Foundation. I had to say yes. You know, it was a fixed term contract, really enjoyed it, put that all back into my, you know, my practice, went back into schools. So I know the value of legacy. You know, it's one of the most important things. I mean, Nick, how do you feel about it?
I'm very excited. I think it's fantastic that our educational leaders have embraced it in this way. And I use this fresh, I've got a hashtag. For somebody said I've got too many hashtags. I thought, well, yes and no. I mean, if they're all like major campaigns, but it's worth peppering tweets with hashtags so you can start forming an audit trail of backstory. But for me, that very early in this journey, and I've only been in this in anger, if you like, and I suppose I have been angry, but for the last 5 years. But 5 years ago, I went into school in Sunderland. The head teacher there, Steve Williamson, and in fact, you know what? I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to get really contentious now. I'm going to pull up a video. Should I do that? Would you like to see a video? It's only a 60-second one, but it's got a very contentious. I'm going to cough. What should I do? Should I just mute my mic? Oh, I didn't mute it. I was going to say that was professional. I muted my mic, but I didn't because I had another dialogue.
That didn't work.
I didn't have a dialogue open. I was trying to open a video. That's what it was. Hang on a second. But no, this is quite a contentious video because it's got a. Let's think of some leaders. Let's think of some leaders. Think of some leaders' names, people. Let's do a brainstorm. Think of some leaders over history. Who are the big famous leaders? Come on.
Oh, us.
Yeah, go on. No, that wasn't the video playing yet. I've got the video.
Churchill.
That's a bit of an obvious one, isn't it? But that's a good start. No, everybody's writing a brainstorm, Russell, so that's good.
I didn't know we were playing Pointless.
Well,
if you want us to play Pointless.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela, that's a great one. Okay. Go on, Russ.
Oh, I'll go for Sir Ken Robinson.
Ken Robinson. Do you see him as a leader? I don't.
Yes, absolutely. He led creativity in the classroom. It's just that the then incumbent Secretary of State said, no, I don't want that.
That's interesting.
That's
a little bit before my time. Well, there's your Churchill. I got Churchill up for you. That should keep you happy. I know true blue pink rinse you are. So obviously, Sir Ken Robinson, when he was really active, was before my time. I saw him as an inspirational person. I didn't see him leading anything. Do you really mean that?
Oh, leading the charge? No, I'd say leading the cause. Absolutely.
Okay. Led the cause. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Churchill, obviously, he had a war to play with. I mean, it's much easier to look like a leader when you've got a water juggle and a few tanks to send across the ocean, isn't it? And Maria, let's have a couple more leaders. You've both hit the nail on the head. There's one more I'd quite like to get out of you, actually.
Well, when you're talking about leaders, do you mean well-known? Because for me, I mean, my granny would have been a leader, you know, very, very poor background, you know, somebody that I would follow. So to me is a leader is somebody that will walk with me, alongside with me, you know, not in front of me. There's a famous poem, isn't it? Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead, but walk beside me and be my friend. And I think that's, excuse me, you know, I could even see a child as a leader. You know, in my classroom, I have been stopped in my tracks over the last 22 years, time and time again, when a child has said something and it has stopped me. And they've been a leader, you know. But if you're thinking about, you know, famous leaders, you know, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, perhaps, very powerful, inspirational woman.
I'm going to play this video now. It's 60 seconds. And it's got one person in it that's excited me more than anybody in a period, and then he sort of disappeared. And I thought he was a leader. And I thought, to be honest, and I hear what you're saying, Russell. And I think this person, I think, could have been a better leader than Sir Ken Robinson, because he had the power for British schools to impact them and make a difference. There's a political person in here which will make a lot of people sort of have a binary reaction, I'm fairly sure. And I'm going to caveat this video by saying that Steamco, I was criticised recently for being too political. And I'm not going to say who said it. I'm not going to say the context in which they said it. But I'm very sensitive to that, because I don't like people saying I'm political, because it often implies that you're political party orientated. And I'm political policy orientated. I will call out policies that affect creativity, kids, communities, and all our futures. And I will call out individuals by name. I don't do this play the ball, not the man. If a person says something, I'll call them out, not to harass them, not to sort of pile hate upon them, but just to question that. And if they said it, they said it. But we don't do party politics. And I'm going to play a video here. And there's a person here saying some amazing stuff from a speech, actually, he gave in Telford at the NASUWT Easter Conference. So let's play that video, shall we? What have we got to do to play the video? Probably click the play button. So let's make sure we're good to go. And
Churchill said an interesting thing in the Second World War.
Do our children deserve to be taught by teachers whose morale is sadly at an all-time low?
I don't want to lose my job this summer.
When we lose teachers, we lose subjects, we narrow the horizons of young people.
If you make a lot of subjects compulsory, there are some subjects that are going to be hit.
They also believe passionately in the creative abilities of all of our children.
Which area of the curriculum best delivers the skills and attributes most highly valued by employers and their new recruits? Do you want to have a guess? Drama.
And that's why I passionately believe in the Arts Pupil Premium.
It takes a brave leader to push that forward in these days.
Creating an education system that provides for every child.
We need to raise more funds for tanks, and one of the ministers turned to him and said, well, we could cut the arts grant. And there was a pause. Churchill turned to him and he said, well, what's it all for then?
so a few leaders in there, weren't there? I mean, you got it right with Churchill, and I'm very pleased to put Churchill in. He was, you know, good boy, bad boy. The Crown presented an interesting side of him. We had Jeremy Corbyn there, and I think if you say anything positive about Jeremy Corbyn, then obviously, you know, you're a crazy lefty, and you know, you get totally instantly dismissed, and you're in this binary conversation. Well, I don't know about you, and I don't know about your politics, and personally I don't care, because I know that you would stand by everything that he just said there. That doesn't mean you're coming to a Socialist Workers' Party coffee morning with me on Tuesday morning necessarily. And I think we have to advocate. Matt Hancock stood up at an event that we did, or made a film for us, talking about the importance of art and creativity, and that we should take that conversation to school head teachers. And he was a Conservative culture minister at the time. So I have no problems about that. And Bill Watkin, that was the person I was talking about, Russell, and I'm sure you know Bill, when he was head of policy and strategy at SSAT, and I thought he was an amazing man. I thought he was a leader. He spoke like a leader. That talk he gave there was a 2-minute talk he did for us at Barclays Tower after I saw him do it at the SSAT conference. And I managed to get him to do it in 2 minutes, because that was Twitter friendly, and that's been seen by thousands and thousands of people, you know. And he totally positioned the EBAC thing in one there. And then Steve Williamson from Sunderland, who was in an outstanding school by Ofsted's definition, and I said to him, how'd you get away with it? You know, I've heard it's been squeezed out. You know, I was new to it 5 years ago. And he said, Ofsted are clear. Ofsted are clear. They value creativity, but it takes brave school leaders to run schools with creativity at their hearts, because they know and they believe in the value of that art and creativity, to give kids uplift across the curriculum, to tap into the skills of some children who aren't academic, and that's exactly what Jeff Barton said to us earlier. What are your thoughts around that, Russell, in terms of brave school leaders in that definition? Because that's quite an important agenda item for me, because we've got to celebrate their work and their leadership.
Well, I think Vic, I mean, we didn't hear the audio during that, so you have to excuse us. We just got the videos, but that's just the video. But that
sorry.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. Don't run it again, please. Honestly, it's fun. So I'd say that Vic Goddard, so he's the head teacher of Passmore's, and when they did Educating Essex, so his book was well famous before then, but his, what I can imagine what he had to say as well, because he's our compasses are clearly aligned with that as well. It's about giving space to young people. The issue I have is the short-lived, those folk there. There's Vic. Those folk there are just, they seem to capture the vox populi and don't really have any substance to it. It's kind of a flash in a pan. It's those kind of magic moments, and I feel they're saying those things because they want to capture hearts and minds of the moment, and there's no long-term strategy or substance to any of those plans, really. There's,
hey, what are you talking about here? What are you talking about, Russell? Sorry, Vic Goddard.
Vic is a brilliant head teacher who has fully embraced creativity. I worry about when we listen to politicians, because they're not here for long enough. Their legacy doesn't last long enough to have any significant impact on that, and I think that's the flaw in the system, really.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to play it again.
Churchill said an interesting thing in the Second World War.
Do our children deserve to be taught by teachers whose morale is sadly at an all-time low?
I don't want to lose my job this summer.
When we lose teachers, we lose subjects, we narrow the horizons of young people.
If you make a lot of subjects compulsory, there are some subjects that are going to be hit.
They also believe passionately in the creative abilities of all of our children.
Which area of the curriculum best delivers the skills and attributes most highly valued by employers and their new recruits? Do you want to have a guess? Drama.
And that's why I passionately believe in the Arts Pupil Premium.
It takes a brave leader to push that forward in these days.
Creating an education system that provides for every child.
We need to raise more funds for Tanks, and one of the ministers turned to him and said, well, we could cut the arts grant. And there was a pause. Churchill turned to him and he said, well, what's it all for then?
I hope you'll accept me playing that again, because I think there's some very powerful language in that, and you were very polite, sort of carrying on with the conversation, not having heard it. But as I said, whoever said those words of Corbyn, they're powerful words, and I'd love to think we had a Prime Minister now who could come out with stuff like that, even if it was lip service that we could then sort of hold him to account for. So yeah, I mean, creativity is Great Britain. I mean, are you familiar with the fact that there's a National Festival of Creativity in a year's time? Are you both aware of that?
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Yes.
What are your thoughts about that? Because it's got a very, very, very mixed reaction and Vic's response.
Yeah, we can. We need resources. We need money. We need direction, and we need time. And there's no time. There's too much pressure being put on colleagues about catching, kids up. Who cares? The world that they're going to inherit is entirely different. We've got Professor Stephen Heffel with us tomorrow night for a whole hour, and we're kicking some brilliant ideas around with him. It's a live show. It's a chance for folk to come to our Seeds of Creativity show at 8 until 9 and ask questions of him. And we're thrashing some great ideas about, there's no pressure. There's too much pressure, and there's no time in the curriculum for these kinds of things. And people are just pushing kids necessarily in the wrong direction when, they're talking about, catching up and the pressure, meeting this, and as you said, you're going to lose all this money and all the rest of it, and la-di-da, and we should be going, well, hold on a second. Kids have done quite a lot in the last year, whether they've been in school or not. They've done quite a lot, and for ones that have sat and played computer games, they've done quite a lot. You know, no idea where those skills might take that child at some point in time, and I think you need to get away from the fact that, just because you haven't done these things or this examination or you haven't met this standard, that your opportunities won't be available. Look at all the most successful creatives in the world they haven't necessarily had the best formal education that was available to them. These are people who've kind of grown themselves with their creativity. Just putting it out there, Nick.
No, it's absolutely valid. I mean, there are some incredible people out there. I've got Elton John up there at the moment, and you remember that day I was in Cardiff. I made a film. I ripped his John Lewis ad off and stuck it back on the internet. He retweeted it, 50,000 views. I borrowed a car and did a 2-week tour of Britain on the back of it. I must admit, I was hoping that he might sort of come up with a little bit of money and sort of sponsor us and help us. He did actually say that he was going to address the creativity issue in our schools in 2022 because he's very concerned. But obviously, he's now put his tour back 18 months. So I suppose that would be 2023 and a half. Well, that's 3 school years of children that have missed that opportunity. And a big part of our battle is to engage and connect with people like him who can give us some support with celebrity, with endorsement, with their connections and their networks. We'll do the legwork, but we do need that support, and we can't keep putting this off. You know, I mean, as you saw there,
that provides for every child. Every child.
We need to.
There we go. I'll just get rid of that. That's a feature of this system. It sort of starts randomly playing occasionally.
I think. May I say something, Nick?
Go for it.
I think a lot of the time it's permission. You know, we are looking for permission from others, and actually it's giving yourself permission to play, permission to be creative, permission to to be led by what you would like to do. So, for example, at the moment I'm homeschooling my 14-year-old niece. She's 3 hours away from me. We meet every single day. I am directed by her. She has neurodiversity. She's neurodiverse. And I go with what she wants to do. And there are some days where she will be learning, and there are other days where she'll need a different day of education. She doesn't need to catch up. She's perfectly okay. We're doing completely different things, and it's fabulous to see her flourishing. I really believe that she's flourishing every single day. I mean, today we were learning about World War I. We're doing some poetry. Yesterday we were making toast stencils. I mean, just of a conversation, and it was DT, it was maths, it was science, it was everything and more, but if I sat her down and said, well, today I'm going to be doing equivalent fractions and she doesn't want to do it, then I'm losing her. So as an educator, and obviously it's my family, I have an investment in her, I want her to love learning, but I also want colleagues to see that it's the permission of doing something fabulous. It's having a go, and if it works, brilliant. If it doesn't work, change it, evolve, be innovative, thinking about all these wonderful things. Russell and I did a show a few months ago for World Radio Day, and those are the 3 words, innovation, evolution and connection. And I think connection is so important, crucial, valuable. It's the stuff of legends. And if we want this legacy to go on, we need to be doing something important. And it really is about mission. If you're looking for a sign, this is it.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's absolutely critical, isn't it? And I think you talk about permission. I actually think that it's very easy to be cynical, and I kind of joke about it. The events that the head teachers and the teacher unions are running, the Education Festival. But if that gives every teacher permission to be creative for a day, then that's brilliant. It's that sort of toe in the door, isn't it? It's that first step. It's that first start. And it breaks my heart, and I don't know how many schools you visit. I mean, I go to very large number of schools, and it breaks my heart because I go into schools, I know they are not creative. I'm only there because I got a foot in the door, or there was an opportunity at the last minute, or they thought, well, this is ticking a science box. And I know that. I mean, I've had even some of the most creative schools you could imagine near here in Camden. They said, we're just going to go and do an hour of maths because we've got to tick our hour of maths box a day. And this is a creative school doing that, one of the most creative in London. And this isn't to say that, I don't need to say it to you that the maths and literacy aren't important. It's about that broad and balance. It's about the mix, isn't it, really? Yeah. Russell, I feel that we're almost following in each other's footsteps, and we've got a lot of common ground. But one brave school leader, I mentioned him earlier, was talking about you yesterday, and if your ears were burning, but Gary Spracklin. Tell us a little bit about Gary and the work that you've seen there and how you've collaborated and supported his practice.
Oh, amazing. He thinks creatively, and I've known him for a very long time, but before the purple suits, I have to say, because I tweeted a picture of that as well. So he used to be at Prince of Wales School as a classroom practitioner, and I met him there for the first time. We did a radio show there, and his kids were incredibly creative. He played the guitar on the show, and then Gary turned up at the Portland Academy, which was a really interesting experiment. It's still there. It's an all-through school, a shoeless school, so the whole school is completely shoeless. And a very creative teaching space is really interesting. Again, Stephen Hepper was instrumental in that, as were a number of folks, and that was really, really interesting. But that kind of that fell into some difficulty because the measurabilities that the department wanted to implement, this is my view, there may be other views, of course, but I'm right, they just didn't provide for the opportunity or the growth space, because this is entirely new. Kind of way of learning. It didn't provide for that, so it kind of the government took control over it again, and a whole range of things happened, and it kind of it fell out of favor with its creative base, and that's a great things still going on in there. So some brilliant colleagues that are still there doing some great teaching, but it isn't what it was, and it isn't what it was set up to be, and that's a great shame. So I think there are too many conflicting agendas here, Nick, for this to have the thriving space. We need some brave colleagues, and we're going to have to do this from the ground up rather than wait for some brilliant initiative to come from the government. I am not holding my breath on that at all. And it's down to people like ourselves that have to go in there, roll our sleeves up, and provide the permission and the opportunity for colleagues to just experiment within this space. It's absolutely essential, I think, as well. Gary's absolutely brilliant, very talented man. And he just he's delivering some great. He's just brought a new classroom space, an old refurbished tank container, hasn't he, in his space? Just some amazing stuff, and he's turned learning upside down and given it a jolly good shake in the process. And I think the kids are really responding. But he's got the parents with him as well. It's a very exciting space down there in Dorset. Absolutely love it. Lovely school, lovely space.
That's absolutely key, having the parents behind you. There's no question about that at all.
Absolutely essential.
And I mean, he's got this pedagogy approach, and I realised yesterday that he didn't invent this, and he's never claimed to. It's actually the legacy of the previous head, who sounds like quite a remarkable man as well. The inspired to learn approach. What are your thoughts about that, Maria? I mean, what does that make you think in terms of your experience and building a school on a motto like that?
Wow, I mean, my eyes would just be wide. Inspired to learn. It for me, it gives. I'm going to go back to that word permission. It gives colleagues an opportunity to find some wonderful opportunities for their children to learn. I can guarantee that no educator out there, whether in early years, primary, secondary, further education, if accreditation was taken away tomorrow, no colleagues would say, well, I don't know what to do. The barriers would be completely lifted. You would be inspired to teach, inspired to learn, inspired to lead, inspired to do everything and more. And I think that is, I've always been a rogue. I've been an educator rogue. I've been doing things for a long time that I've followed my heart. I've had plants in the classroom. I've had citrus smell. I've had music at different wavelengths. I was the quirky teacher who was doing all these things. And, Professor Stephen Heppel, when we spoke to him during the week, and he's on our show tomorrow, The Seeds of Creativity, at 8 p.m. on learnradio.net. All these things now have got research. It's backed up. So as an educator, I gave myself permission to inspire myself to lead and be inspired by others. So, inspired to learn, I say bring it on. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much you obviously track a little bit of what I get up to and my kind of crazy antics. But you'll know that I did a lot of work over the last few years with Chris Dyson there at Parklands Primary, and he's been incredibly supportive. And I think the key for me is brave school leaders, school community leaders who reach out to their communities, to reach out to people like me. And Chris Dyson in me saw somebody who got some stuff done, who did some interesting things, who complemented his practice, gave his teachers a bit of buzz, gave the community some buzz. And I've been really, really grateful to him, and likewise very, very grateful to Gary for what he's let us do. I'm kind of pausing a little bit because I've literally had some video stuff just sent in. Believe it or not, I've got somebody in Colombia who's just done some computer graphics for me. And I am just going to, hang on a second, let's, I'm just going to see if I can't show you that video. Would you like to see a little bit of video of something that we've done with Gary? I'm rather embarrassed actually, because I don't feel I'm doing his practice any justice at all, because I've thrown a video together literally while we've been talking with some rushes that have come in. But I think it will give you an idea of the license. I mean, you saw him drive that tractor into the assembly yesterday. I mean, Mike Fairclough, eat your heart out. I've never seen Mike Fairclough actually take his tractor into the hall like that. But yeah, when somebody does that and gets the white wig out, you never. I mean, I just want to keep going back to Prince of Wales, because I know that every time I go, something different and inspiring will happen every single time, and that the community will be involved. His head of governors was in there yesterday. What's the most inspiring thing you've ever seen in a school, Russell? I know you've been around a bit. I read it on a toilet wall somewhere. What are the most inspiring things you've seen in a school in your travels?
Gosh, probably it has to say, in a radio station with children innovating and being creative and handling a live broadcast situation. I've lots of opportunities with the local MP, Willows High School, really lovely. Another, because we're staying in Wales, or some of your examples as well, brilliant. That's a school in Cardiff, and I remember in the Vaughan, who is now a senior Welsh cabinet, and the children were just interviewing him, beautifully creative questions, and just thinking on their feet, and just not, I've been told to sit here type of thing. That's just not going to open the doors for them. Just those kind of magical moments that are plenty when you scaffold an opportunity for kids to be creative. I think that's important.
Absolutely. I don't know if you have. I've got no idea of what I'm doing on a computer here compared to this time last year. I bought the second most powerful laptop that Dell sell, right? It's £3,000 laptop. And I just tried to render the video while I was chatting to you. And the time to render one frame went from 20 milliseconds to 7.5 seconds, which is why you started stuttering, because it couldn't render a video and do this. So I'm not actually going to be able to show you that video unless I. What do you think? Do you mind stuttering, or should I?
No, you can save it for another time if you like as well.
I'll save it for another time. So basically,
I'm enjoying your company, Nick, but it is getting on a bit, mate.
No, it is. We're a minute over.
Oh, there you go. That's
we're
working.
A minute over. But that's a little video of the Okay, well, let's stay with that. That's a video of the cardboard cathedral that we've built at Prince of Wales School, and let me just show you a couple of others while we're at it, because we've got a better one than that. But
that's pretty good.
I wanted to stitch them all together.
That's pretty good.
I wanted to stitch them all together and show you. In fact, I'm going to do it and sort of play it as a little. I'll do a little live stream later on for everybody who wants to see it. But here's the actual launch. This is lovely. Watch this. This is fresh off the blocks, which is why we've got no fancy stuff. So let's get that across there.
Oh, that's stunning. Hey.
Wow. We have liftoff.
So this is what we're talking about, and what we're going to do the whole of this week is, as far as I'm concerned, about chatting with amazing people like you, getting those snippets that we can stick together to get the message out there to everybody that our kids need to be inspired to learn. And there's another one. Look at this one. This is pretty epic. And this is all just grabbed off Google Earth.
Oh, that's just
you see, Nick, our children and young people and colleagues and families and communities are never going to forget this. You may forget a worksheet that you did on, equivalent fractions, on Thursday, the whatever day of April, but this will stay in their minds forever. And you don't know where this will go. I mean, you're speaking to a little girl who, didn't do very well at school, bilingual, not very clever, not academic at all. And I'm sitting here talking to you today full of awe of what everybody is doing, you know, in our community, globally. But, you know, I was a little 8-year-old girl who was not succeeding. And if it wasn't for my teachers supporting me and helping me, and I went to a local drama centre, it just grew me. It absolutely grew me. So, you know, we're supporting the children of the future. You know, the children are us. 5 minutes ago, we were children 5 minutes ago, and look at the tiny moments. Everybody has a moment where a parent, a grandparent, a member of the community, you know, a teacher, an educator, an artist has come in and has changed their lives completely. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because this is life-changing stuff. What you're doing, what we're doing, what we're doing globally, and long may it last. And I'm so grateful, you know, to be a part of it. Really am.
Well, thank you very much for supporting this, Maria. And it's, you know, we met about a year ago online, and here we are today actually doing something, 3 people doing what we can. I had, I don't know if you know Blair Minchin up there in Scotland. I was hoping to get him on actually. He was due to come in, but he had to go out to view a house very quickly last minute with his wife. Gary Spracklin, unfortunately, is at a PTA meeting, but if he comes back from that and wants 5 minutes, I might just get that video rendered and sort of run that for him. Can't thank you both enough for your support this evening, as ever. Ongoing, wonderful work, and I don't know about you. I think we've just about nailed this, Tech, don't you? The between us sitting here now. What a beautiful sight that is. Obviously, not so much just me, but you guys sitting there cuddled up together in a COVID world. I don't. Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen
the other
that?
way.
I just think that's wonderful, don't you? What a lovely sight. Last thoughts, guys, as we wrap up. Inspired
Good
to learn.
technique. Good technology. Well done, Nick. Thank you very much for having us on with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolute honour.
Absolutely
Thank
wonderful.
you so much, Nick. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, guys. Well, that's 2 absolute legends, and I'm going to play out now with the film of the World Creativity and Innovation Week and Day. I'm so proud. I'm so delighted to be part of this. To have people like Russell and Maria here tonight. Russell made an event happen today for me with his generosity of connection. There's a lot of closeness to chests in this world. People keep their contacts to themselves. I met Chris Dyson because Bryn Llewellyn introduced me to him for an event I was doing up there. And I met the White Rose Primary School team there today because Russell Prue, who was funded by Arts Council Wales, who was funded by the Welsh Government to go into those schools, he connected me with those schools because that's what this is all about. It takes a whole village to inspire a child, and we're so proud to be here on World Creativity Week, and we hope you will be part of the journey or the mission or the movement, as Sir Ken Robinson called it. Thanks for joining us.